First Rodeo Radio, where the race begins. The homies have reached the starting gate, and they're off.
Welcome to another episode of First Rodeo Radio. Today we are joined by Jonathan Rapp, who runs Twin Sports Racing. Thanks for joining us, Jonathan.
Good morning. How are you?
Living the dream. It's a gloomy Saturday morning here in Austin. It might be a little bit sunnier there in Florida.
A little bit better.
Doesn't
80's
suck.
always perfect.
Yeah, Austin's hard to complain coming from the Northeast. So I'll take some gloomy 60 degrees over getting snowed in Kentucky or 30 degrees in Jersey right now, I think.
That's it. I'm heading up to Saratoga next weekend, so it'll be a little bit colder up there.
Oh, man, what do you do up there?
So we have a house up there. We bought it about 4 years ago. So we spend a lot of holidays up there. The kids love it. The wife loves it. So it's pretty good.
You have to send me some pictures of hopefully the track's under some snow.
It definitely got some snow last week, I heard. So
I'm sure that's picturesque. I'm sure it's a much different vibe there in the winter than the summer.
definitely a lot more local, a lot less traffic. But it's nice.
Yeah, that's my favorite place in the world, I would say. I think town-wise, I think I like Saratoga. Track-wise, I give a small edge to Keeneland, but it's by a nose.
Yeah, I took the boys to Keeneland very early on in our racing journey. We had a horse run up there, and it was pretty cool.
Nothing better than it. So let's get into that. How did Jonathan get into racing? I guess maybe you could start with the question I usually like to start with is, okay, you got in the back of an Uber. Maybe you're in Saratoga. You're leaving. Was it Caroline Street? You just had a couple drinks. You're feeling good. Horse just won. You get into the Uber. What's the story? Tell the Uber driver about where you came from, what you do, how you got into racing.
Yeah, I was a kid. I was going to the track a ton with family members, so I was always into racing. A family member had a ton of horses, about 15, 20, 25 horses. And I was on a senior trip in the Bahamas. And as an 18-year-old can do, I think I went over with $600. And had a really great night at the craps table. And I came home, I had like 10 grand. And I'm like, what is it? I don't need money. Like, what are we doing here? So I went and claimed a $5,000 claimer at Hialeah Racetrack as a high school kid. Put it in the trainer's name and was off from there. And then for a good 25 years, I didn't have any horses. And then it was time to get back into the industry. Had a little money, so we took a shot and we claimed a 12.5 claimer at Gulfstream with Carlos David, street tune, and he did great. He won like 200,000 for us. We took it from there and just kept going.
How did I've never been to Hialeah, so RIP. How'd that horse do?
It was okay. It got claimed back from me probably 18 months later. So it ran a good amount. I was in college and I played football at St. John's. And all my buddies used to go to the OTB in Queens to watch my horse run. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome. I mean, like, it's nothing better than a hot crap stable too. I mean, was it just? Do you remember if it was like just one big shooter, one long roll, or was
one
it just
long roll? About an hour. Like if it would happen today, I'd walk away with all the money. But 10,000 back then was all the money.
Oh, yeah.
It was every dollar you could ever want. Like I remember trying to stuff it in my wallet and coming home, and it was so bad. But it was great.
What did your parents think when you told them, I walked out with 10K, I'm gonna claim a horse with it?
Par for the course. They were not shocked. They were not shocked by any means. Yeah, they were okay with it.
That's awesome. And then, so did you grow? So sounds like you grew up in South Florida.
South Florida. I grew up in Aventura, which is like, I remember at Gulfstream Park, and you could hear it from my backyard. Like you could hear the announcer. So I was right there. I was right behind Gulfstream Park.
And then you said you played football at St. John's up in New York?
Correct.
So that was probably a bit of culture shock, even going from, sunny Florida to
Yeah, I mean, we always had family in New York, so I'd been on Long Island a little bit. So, but it was just a weather shock, right? Like coming from 85, 90-degree weather to just freezing cold practices and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I'm sure like the tail end of the season was very fun.
Not
There's
fun.
yeah. The funny thing is though, like snow, like when it snows, it's actually better because I grew up playing football in the Northeast, just high school level, and I loved it when it snowed because you have a little cushion because
I
otherwise it was
wanted
just
no part of.
you're
I
landing
wanted
on
no part of the
concrete.
cold. No part of the
Yeah.
cold.
Everything hurts a little bit more in the cold for sure.
Oh yes, it does.
But yeah, it's awesome. It's funny. St. John's is like kind of a racing um, pipeline with Patino owns some horses. Obviously, Rapoli's the big St.
So
John's booster,
Mike
and
Jarvis was there when I was there, and he was huge. And then our athletic trainer was actually a big West Point Thoroughbreds owner. So even back in college, we were it was pretty. We had a group of people that were racing enthusiasts there, and then obviously Mike Rapoli's went to St. John's, so he's a St. John's guy. But I haven't hooked up with him yet, so we got to make that happen. I know
yeah,
he wants the
when
younger guys like us in the game, so he's got to
100%,
he's got to bring us in on a couple of good horses with him.
100%. So let's fast forward. So back in Florida, at what point did you decide, hey, I kind of want to get back into ownership and decide to drop the slip on Discreet Tune?
So just like post COVID 2021, like the first time we ran at Gulfstream with Discreet Tune, they weren't even letting kids into the track. My kids were like, God, maybe they were 10, and you had to be like 14 to get into the track. I brought them. I'm like, boys, you got to tell the guy you're 14. And they go, the security guard goes, how old are you? And they're like 14. And the guy's like, kids don't lie. And I got in. And we ran second by a nose, got beat. Yeah, so it was just like that 2021 time frame.
So then I saw the first win for Discreet Tune was August 20th. Was that your first win as an owner, or did you get
That
one
was
with the
We got one with the claimer, but again, that was like the first real win, our own silks, our own names. So that was cool. We had a bunch of people there. Because he was knocking on the door a couple times. He ran second by a nose a couple times there.
I got the win
So
photo here.
yep, so that was a cool day. And then he went on, he just kept winning that horse. Carlos had him ready to roll, till he got claimed from us, you know. But he did good. Ran in a couple stakes for us. They brought him up to Monmouth Park. He ran in Tampa in a stake. So he did good for a little 12-5 claimer. He did good. You'd like to have 20 of him.
Yeah, I would definitely would not suck having 20 of him.
That first time they give you that first time luck to get you in there.
I was talking about that the other day. I was like, the first horse we claimed and that ran under like our name was the Thunderer, who we claimed at a Turfway. He just broke his maiden. The brace we got him out of, he won again. So now I was like, shit. Now winners of two is out of the question. Now we got to go to Keeneland and run in probably open company. He runs for open 16 at Keeneland and we win. And I think I'll be chasing that high until I
That's it,
die.
right? Like it's like they just exactly. It's unbelievable what they give you the first couple ones, and then then reality sets in. But
Yeah. It's like the analogy I use is like fishing, they kind of know they got us on the line. They set the hook and then they take us for a ride.
that's it, and then you're chasing it forever.
There's nothing better. There's really nothing better. But tell me a little bit about like the name Twin Sports, the colors, the silks. I love hearing about the designs of those.
Yep. So everybody makes fun of me. They're like, "This is the simplest design. Like, what are we doing here? We got to have something better than this." So my kids, I have 14-year-old twin boys, and they were, like I said, 8 or 10, and they thought they were gonna have a big YouTube channel. So they called it Twin Sports. So that's what we went with.
I love it. And the boys, they're at right here, little legends.
Yes, they had to tell the security guards they started letting people in the track by the time we won there. But as you could tell, they didn't look 14 then, but
Yeah.
they went with it.
Hey, I love it. And then it seems like the same year you also picked up hashtag no wonder at the OBS sale. Is that right?
Yes. So I went to Carlos and I said, "Hey, Carlos, let's try to buy a 2-year-old in training." He goes, "Well, I'm not really comfortable picking out horses at this point. Maybe we can find somebody to help us." So that's when I got hooked up with Connor Foley from Oracle Bloodstock. We bought him. I feel like we paid, God, I don't even remember what we paid for him. Maybe 50, 45, 47, something like that. because he RNA'd, so we got him. We made a deal, and then and that's how we picked him up and sent him to Carlos. And he was actually a pretty nice horse. He could run forever. We just couldn't get him races long enough at some point. And we named him hashtag no wonder because my buddy was going through a divorce. And we said, and everybody was just saying, well, every time he did something dumb, we're like, hashtag no wonder. Hashtag no wonder you're getting divorced. So that was how we kind of named him. So that was pretty funny in the guys group chat.
I love it. I love it. I think that's the first horse you named then.
That was the first horse we got to name. Yep.
We just had the first horse we ever named debut last weekend, and she ran a little disappointing, but there's something a little bit different about like that first, because it really feels like you claim
Like
when
it's
it's your
yours.
horse, but yeah, the name for some reason just like even more so, it kind of hits to your core.
Yeah, the stories
Yeah.
of naming horses are pretty good. Sometimes they're basic. Some of these guys that have hundreds of horses, they're just basic, but usually there's a pretty good story to everyone.
Do you got a favorite name that you've bestowed on
My
a
my
horse?
we let my wife do most of the naming when we're the majority, and can name it. Which a lot of times, as we've learned, it's not the best to be the majority. You want to buy a little piece of
Yeah.
this, a little piece of that. You want to spread out that risk. But Alana, my wife, does most of the naming.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I think it's the whole process is so much fun. I mean, we're kind of in that stage now where we're trying to really figure out exactly how we want to strategize because I think it's fun doing some claiming. It's a bit more action because we're getting people that are first in the game. We're trying to have a race at least once a month just to keep people engaged, have some action. And I also think from like an ROI perspective, it's actually more advantageous to claim than to buy from the
100.
sales. But it's like I think there's a part of it too where it's like not everything in this it's the sport of kings. It's a very difficult game, and if you're doing everything from a pure ROI perspective, A, you're not gonna have fun, and then B, like you're in the wrong sport. So it's like the auctions and the fun that come along with that, and naming the horse and going along for the ride the full way is another like big part of the experience that we like to have people be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're creating lifelong horse people. And that's kind of the goal, right? You get somebody in, they're a little younger in their career. And the best way to get them in is like you're doing 500 here, 1,000 here. It's not affecting their daily life, but they get the same high when that horse crosses the finish line. Doesn't matter how much you own, I promise that. We have horses we own 10% of and horses we own 100% of, and it feels the same. It definitely does. There's no different.
Yeah, so like it takes me back like Jason Worth. So first horse I ever owned, whether you know it or not, you kind of ushered me into ownership
Yes.
because you sold me a 5% piece of Save Us Melania. It was also owned by Jason Worth, and he was like, yeah, whether I own 5% or 100%, like it's still 100% of the fun regardless. And he's compared to like winning World Series. So I always react to that. Like, if this guy can say that, then like who am I to argue that?
Definitely, and she was a nice filly. I think we just kind of got caught up in some, trainer stuff and here and there, but in the end, she went on and made Linda Rice a bunch of money because Linda claimed her from us for 25, and we got a Saratoga victory out of it. So
I got a photo up here for
I
it.
guess you take that. You take that, right? But she was expensive. I think we paid like 165 for her. But in the end, she was really nice, and I think she probably won. If we looked her up, she probably won 200
Yeah, I
for
think she's
for
she's still
Linda.
going too. I want to say she was breezing and entering another day. So I think she's coming back around for another go
Another
at
no.
it.
Yeah, she was pretty talented. Philly by constitution. So she was nice.
Do you have any stallions you particularly like when you're at the
So
sales
we're
or claiming?
starting to get into the breeding a little bit. So we had one filly, um, very similar to Save Us Melania, and Sweet Lou's Got Aces. That was another filly I owned. I'll tell you that story here in a minute. But so it was a filly by constitution, and she could not run for anything. But she's bred pretty well. We got her a win down at the fairgrounds in Louisiana, Freedom Forever. So we got her a win. And she is in foal to Cyberknife right now. So she'll have a foal later this year. And then I believe we're going back to Tabia. I believe is where she's going to go next year. So we're going to see. She'll be a New York bred. She's up at Bill Johnson's farm. Um, and then the baby will get raised down in Kentucky, and she'll go back to Kentucky to get bred. So we're doing that a little bit, and then me and Jason Alonso, who's another Ray Handle owner, we had a horse together, La Salvadoreña, and she just went to the sale, and we bought her back out of the sale. There were some other partners in on that horse, so everybody decided to send her to the sale, and that's an Oscar Performance filly.
So
And
we just bought a piece of the foal that Connor picked up at the
Yeah,
sale.
so correct. We all own the
Yeah.
full. So that's a nice horse, I hear. So La Salvadoreña could run. I mean, she could run. She just had some health issues. And I think that held her back a little, but she won a maiden special. She was second first time out at Keeneland. So she could definitely run, and the family's being purchased nicely. So hopefully that colt can really run. But everything I heard from Essler, is that he's pretty nice. So yeah, we're in on that horse together. And then, so we bought La Salvadoreña back, and we're going to probably go to Carl Spackler there. So he'll be a freshman sire. And like, again, I know nothing about this industry, right? Like we know 1% of, Connor Foley probably knows 8 billion times more than I know. He probably forgot more than I know. But from what I'm hearing, like if you want to make a turf horse, go make a turf horse. Like don't pretend to try to bring in some other influences. So Carl Spackler with an Oscar Performance filly should be pretty good turf horse, and we'll make it a New York bred probably. And with that Tapeta coming to Belmont Park, these horses don't have to go away. We have a pretty nice turf horse that we just had to send away for 5 months now because there's nowhere to run in New York. It's a New York bred. So I think that's going to help.
That's super exciting. I guess like goals there is like you're kind of owning half these mares and just breed to race.
Well, breed to race or to sell. I think the first one you kind of want to be in control from what I'm hearing, and like race it and get it with a good trainer and get some wins under your belt and try to get some black type in the family. And then now your mayor's worth some good money. We've tried to use the sales as supplement for the racing. So we've been doing a little pin hooking and a little, we have a nice filly right now, Victory Hall, and she was a pin hook. We bought her as a weanling. We tried to sell her at the yearling sale. We couldn't. Nobody wanted her. She's by Independence Hall, who's having a pretty good freshman year. Then we took her to the 2-year-old sale. She breezed 10-1. Nice breeze. Couldn't sell her again. So we raced her, and she was first. She was second first time out at Saratoga. Came back, broke her maiden at Saratoga, second out. Then we Senator, it's hard to find races for these young 2-year-olds. There's just only so many spots. So we sent her to Delaware Park, and she ran in the non-winners of 1 and won that. And came back in maybe it's called the Maid of the Mist. I think it was called the Maid of the Mist, a New York bred stake, and she was third in that. And then she won a little stake up at the Finger Lakes. So she was off on a little vacation. We sent her to the farm, and she came back the other day from Patty Hogan's, and now she'll get ready for her 3-year-old campaign. So they haven't come out with that New York bred stake schedule yet. You'd think, that we could get our act together there. So usually it's in February. There's a race in February, 7 furlongs on the dirt, so she'll go in that.
That's super exciting. Could be another one to eventually enter into the breeding program. It's nice having a nice filly now.
You think, I mean, she's got black type already, so you think if she can get a nice win there, she's got to be worth something, right? And if not, we'll breed her ourselves. We're not scared to breed her. So we'll take a shot there. That's why I kind of like the fillies a little bit, because there is a little residual value there. We're hoping our Oscar Performance colt can run all day, and but in the end, if he can't, right, there's not really much residual value there. But again, the full sister, there's a little residual value there.
It's nice. You kind of you control the destiny there. I mean, if the colt ends up being, a nice horse and does something, like owning the foal isn't gonna suck. I mean, having the babies to then sell would be very nice. You kind of can win both ways.
Yeah, and I think like when Connor goes to the sale and knows the family, that helps him a little bit. Um, Currently, Connor had picked out a horse 2 years ago, by a mayor, Love and Respect, and we ended up selling that horse for 160,000. And that horse's name is Civil Liberty. Again, another Independence Hall. Connor was pretty high on Independence Hall. Connor Foley from Oracle Bloodstock, they are very good at identifying stallions. And again, he looks for the athlete, right? He'll tell you he doesn't look at the pages before. I'm sure you've heard the same speeches, but it's true. Like he does not. I'll be like, hey, I'm looking at the. He's like, I don't look before. I want to see the athlete first. But what ends up happening is because he's looking at a specific type of athlete, it's by the same sire, right? So like he was on Good Magic before good anybody was on Good Magic. Like I could go back and pull the hip numbers from those early sales, and it was Good Magic, Good Magic, Good Magic, Good Magic. And as you know, he bought Dornock. He was the underbidder on Mage. So like behind, I'm gonna probably butcher the name. Maybe it was Barnes or one of those big Zendon horses. He's run behind a couple times, but he stakes place. And he'll be on the Derby Trail next year, out on the West Coast. So we bought the full sibling, again, another full sibling situation. So we bought a filly, um, at the Keeneland sale. So it's Independence Hall, Love and Respect. Um, and so we'll see what happens here with that family, and then depending on what happens, sees if we'll sell, we'll race. But she's currently at a farm in Ocala getting broke, and all the early reports is she's pretty talented and pretty smart. So you'll take that. So like I said, Connor's pretty good at just identifying these families. He was big on that Puka family early, right? Like he bought Puka.
Yep.
um and then so when all of a sudden he starts seeing these offspring come around, he was quick to trigger right there.
Yeah, the memory it has is pretty crazy. Like it seems like you walk around the sales with him, like you're having a good time because he's just hilarious, and like you're just hanging out. Like he's like, you're like, how is he like doing all this? And then like he's like, I look at a horse, like you can tell he likes one because all of a sudden he'll lock in, look at it, and then look at the page, be like, oh, I bought this dam of like, oh, it's underbid on this. I was like, how do you remember all this? He's like, how do you not remember it? And like
Yeah.
I'll be eating lunch like at Keeneland in September, and be like, oh, Matt, you remember that that chestnut at Denali that we saw at like 10 a.m. I was like, Connor, bud, like I can't even tell you the color of the last horse we saw, let alone a horse we saw at 10 a.m.
Right. And never mind, he'll tell you how much he got beat. Like when he tells you like he's the underbidder, and I'm like, no, that can't be right. Like whatever. And then you go look and you're like, no, that horse was on the list and he had it circled. Like he was the underbid, like he knows everything. And it's probably Jim who keeps him straight, but but yes, he knows. He knows. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, you are doing a terrible job marketing yourself, right? Like he had two horses in the Derby. I don't think a bloodstock agent's ever had two in the same Derby, right? So he had Society Man and Dornock in the same Derby, and just the level. He bought three Remsen winners in a row, like and but nobody knows. There's like
It
it's
won't,
like
it won't, it
nobody
won't, it won't have time for us.
nobody knows. But again, he won't deal with some of these other guys, right? Like he's very selective about his client base, right? He only wants to work with people that are going to do the right thing in the industry, and so on and so forth. So there's guys, he'll fire guys, he'll be like, you're not for me, kind of thing. So he's never spent my money. I never felt that he ever spent my money on something that just to make a sale, right? There's been so many times. I have a buddy who I got into the industry, and he could go to the sales and get a little excited. You can get tuned up. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
it's exciting, and he's got some money, so he can. So Connor's like, just be patient. We're gonna buy something, and if we don't buy something here today, it's okay. We're gonna go to October and we're gonna buy something. My buddy's in the back trying to just bid, and Connor's like, "Oh, you got to temper it down a little bit." So where other guys, I think, in the industry, just from what I've seen, like they will just spend these guys money, like and I feel like it's just to get a commission check. Like, it's
Yeah.
even with the bigger guys. Like, how does Zendon buy the most expensive horse at every sale? Like, at some point, you're either getting run up or your blood stock. Like, somebody's doing something wrong there. That you never buy a bargain.
Yeah, I think for him, it's like he kind of wants to be the person that buys the
Makes
most
sense.
expensive
I
horse
guess you
too. So
can,
it's
you
like
can, right? Like,
it's crazy. But yeah, like I was very lucky to meet Connor by happen chance. Like I was just hanging out like with Amplify actually, kind of find wearing the hat. Like just when I was first getting into horse racing, it was around the same time you got your first win with Horse in Your Silks. And I was just hanging out, like the lady Anise, like she was leading me around the New York bred sale, which she was really nice to kind of give me that time. And then I was just hanging out like near like the back ring, the horses that were kind of circling before they go in, just like looking at feet. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of jotting down notes. And the guy next to me, I started talking to him, he ended up being, I jotted his name down. He was like some like former exec at Ford. Like he was some big shot, but he was like super nice to me. And he just like turned. He's like, if you want to be in this game, like you need to be around people that are honest. And he pointed at Connor. He's like, that's like one of the very, very, very few people here that I can say is extremely honest. So I
yep.
was very, very lucky to meet Connor, and it was really by happen chance. And that gray haired guy next to me that was a former Ford exec that introduced me to him.
Yeah, again, they're very honest and they get you with other owners. Again, that's how we met, right? That are honest and they take care of each other and there's been different times that groups of ownership have given me a percentage in a horse that maybe I didn't deserve. Les Alvadrania. I was just at the Keeneland sale and again, Jason Alonso Racing, they're a Saratoga family. They're up and they live there year round. And they were the lead owners on that horse. They owned like 60%. And I think Vinny with Pavilion was in on that horse and Brown Road Racing. And I was there and they were like, we might need a little extra money. She might be a little expensive. I'm like, well, I'll come in for whatever. And they bought her for 90,000 and they didn't need my money, but they were like, all right, you can come in for 10 anyways, stuff like that. And which is nice. So I think most of the owners that I've been placed with, if you look at it, it's pretty much the same groups, just a different version of it in every horse. Right. So again, we have the new Oscar Performance, and I think there's another one that we have together. I feel like
Oh, you went
you
on Florida
know,
Patriot with me too?
Florida Patriot. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
that's a from what Morley says, like that's a really nice filly. She's on the farm now, as you know, but I think when she comes back, we're gonna be pleasantly surprised there. I have a feeling, and I saw an email yesterday. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah,
A nice little report. So that's good.
she's gonna
I
come
think
back.
she's at Patty's also. I think.
Yeah, she is.
You
I think.
never want to, Patty's is a nice place, but you never want too many horses there. But inevitably, they seem to go there. Yeah, and but again, they say she's pretty talented, and I feel like these guys know, right? Like they can, they've doing this so long, they can kind of tell the duds from the studs. Um,
Yeah, I never forget.
and
We had a horse. It's down at Esther's now, and I think after the first breeze, like horses with Mott to start. After the first breeze, I think Esther said he got a text from Mott like, "Hey, horse isn't much. Like, sorry." And he's still made it now. I mean, like he's a decent little turf horse. Like we'll run him here at Tampa here in a few weeks, but it's the good ones know early. I mean, they say like after the first 5 furlong work, you really kind of separate the men from the boys, and I guess the women from the ladies. I guess.
yeah, and I think even like the Esslers of the world, I think they know, right? Like, Nick Essler, Raul, Carlos David's uncle, which is John Ortiz's dad. He breaks some babies for us also, and like every time they've said this one's pretty good, it turns out to be pretty good. And when they're like, this one ain't great, let's try to get rid of this one. That's usually what happens. The only ones we've had two horses that have kind of come back to bite us a little bit. One is Save Us Melania, right? Like she came back to win some money. And there was another horse that I owned with West Paces and a bunch of those guys. and Certified Lover Boy, and that horse kind of came back to bite us a little bit. It was thought of as like a Derby horse early on, and he just would breeze like a killer, and then just the afternoon just didn't show up much. But got some. He liked those good magics, like the off the muddy sloppy tracks, and he caught like 4 or 5 in a row, and went on a little run there where he made like 300 grand. But in the end, mostly they know.
That was my favorite named horse, I think, of the group was Certified Lover Boy. Kind of
Yeah,
kind of
that was
makes
a
sense now that
that was a
you had to
Ray
compete.
Handle a Ray Handle named horse, and all those announcers in New York, they love to crush him about that.
I love it. I think I was getting dinner with him one night and he was talking about that name. I was like, it's a great name for a horse. It's hilarious. And it's
It's
kind of
amazing the names that I get turned down on, and then the ones I see that go through. Like, from what I heard, it's like 3 old ladies in Kentucky that decide, like, if the
yeah,
name
and it's
is
like
approved or
it just
not.
depends which one you get apparently. I heard it's like there's one lady that's really strict and there's one lady that's like whatever. So just like it is very funny how it all plays out.
I had gotten my buddy Rob into a horse, and um one of the other guys, Elliot, from I think he's Table 38 Racing. He said, let's name the horse Ultimate Warrior. So I sent it in. Nope, turned down, and I'm like, what? So, but it's crazy the stuff and then I see stuff that gets approved, and my wife, the namer of the family, she's the one that goes, "This is crazy. I can't believe they approved that. They turned us down."
Yeah, you can sneak some by them for sure. It's really funny that way. But it seems like you have, so our tagline with First Rodeo is chasing first. So chasing first on the track, chasing first time owners and their first time experiences. It sounds like you have like some exciting first coming up with like, first foals on the ground for the breeding program, things like that. Is there a next first that you're looking forward to most right now?
Yeah, we'd really love to get um a graded stakes victory. I think that would be, we had Sweet Lou's Got Aces, and she won the Tepin Stakes. I don't think it was a graded race. And we owned very little of that horse. But yeah, I think we'd like to get a graded stakes victory here. I think that'd be pretty cool. And just keep, chasing first, right? Like, the wins are really good, and you got to get good at losing in this game, right? Because, again, if you win at 30%, like, you're a Hall of Famer. It's like baseball, right? Like, again, like, you got to get good at losing. Because, again, every day you can take them on the chin, and it's hard to keep coming back. I mean, but then when you win and you get a good one, right? If you get a good one, it'll take you on a ride. So we're kind of waiting for that one to take us on the ride.
For sure. I think every time we have a race, I'm like, I'm not gonna let the outcome affect my mood. I'm not gonna let the outcome affect my mood. Naturally, every time we lose, I'm a little angry. If we finish in the money, I'm like, okay, I can usually talk myself out off the ledge a bit. But the wins definitely outweigh the losses in terms of the feeling. Like I don't care if we're winning for 4 at Penn or winning for,
Oh, it feels the same,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Charlestown for 5,000. Like,
yeah,
feels like I just won the Derby, right?
yeah.
Like.
There's really nothing better than it.
I got a couple of lacrosse dads into lacrosse with us. So it's Let's Go Racing and Cypress Head Racing. And my buddy Juan from Cypress Head, I mean, if when we lose, and he's gotten in heavy, right? Like, he's in on everything I do now. And to the point where he's getting me in on things, right? Like, he's out making deals. And he's the guy that I told you Connor's got to tell to, like, all right, Juan, we're gonna get something here. Relax. Because he went to Keeneland September this year, and we've learned if we send Juan to a sale, we're coming back with a big bill. Like, we're not buying one horse. He went to a weanling sale one time. In the first 45 hips, him and Connor bought like 6 horses. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, boys? But when we win, he's ecstatic. When we lose, it's like we got to talk about, like, we might not be able to see him for 2 days. We got to talk him off the ledge. um you know so he's all in, but he's emotional. He's definitely emotional.
I hear like horse racing, you gotta ride the wave. It's like I was watching like a little surfer documentary last night. It's like, there's a point in that wave where you can either bail or like keep sending it and like try to like hit the little break. I feel like I do a good job of bailing at the right time so I don't get crashed out on because the emotions are a wild swing. It's a fun ride either way. But if you stay in a little too hard, man, you can get yourself in a little bit of a hole.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, I think he's just a competitor, right? Like, with the kids lacrosse, with him, with everything in business, and that's why he was probably successful. He's sold a nice business and has done well for himself, and just because he's ultra competitive would be my guess. And yeah, but we ran fourth yesterday in a race, and boy, the text I can always I know before the text messages come in. He's going to be ripping somebody. Some trainer's getting ripped. Somebody's getting killed. The jockey,
Yeah,
we'd have no jockeys left to ride if we let Juan decide. They're all terrible. So it's pretty
that's
funny.
funny. Yeah, there's nothing better than it, in my opinion. Like the feeling of having the horse just enter the gate, the heart gets pumping. But like on that light, like one of the questions I always like to ask people is, okay, if you had a magic wand and you could change anything about horse racing, you automatically get buy-in from all the groups. Money's not an issue. Magic wand, you can do whatever you want to improve the sport, like long term. What would you do?
Yeah, I think, as much as controversy, I think Rapoli's he's on the right track, right? Like the vet stuff is terrible. Like we're all about horses. Like right now we had a horse at Colic and most people would have put this horse down, right? We're 20,000 into this horse over the last 5 days. Because it's all about the horse, right? So I think most of the owners are all about the horses. But when you're scratching sound horses, like now we have a problem. And it's happening constantly. Like we were scratched at Keeneland, just scratched. Just no reason, no nothing. Horse was sound, no issues, so on and so forth, scratched. And there's just not a lot of transparency in that process, right? So I know owners are upset about that. And we just so I think Rapoli's on the right track, and I think he's just got to get enough people together. I do believe that the old school way we've done things has to change, right? We haven't evolved with the times, right? I mean, look at our generation and even the younger generation, right? I mean, they're betting on the next play. They're betting on why can't we have bets that are going mid rate? Like, there's just so many things that they could do to bring the younger people into the sport. Because again, look at your group, look at my group, my buddies that I'm bringing in, it's not old guys, you're talking 30s and high 20s. And I think that's what he's looking to do to make it sustainable.
Yeah.
So
I think there's definitely like a line to walk there with like scratching things like that. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head though, in terms of, I was actually thinking about it yesterday as I was driving back home from the gym. It's like if a horse is scratched, like, pre-race, things like that, why don't we get, a little vet report? It could be 3 sentences, but it's better than just nothing. Like just, oh no, just scratch. Like, oh, okay, why? Like, I think I would feel better about it personally. Like, obviously, I'd still be devastated. Obviously, like you said, like we care about the horse, we do everything we can to do to, take care of them. But it's like you can't just, it's like if you, I mean, you watch the NFL. I mean, if Daniel Jones, like he tore his Achilles, and kind of everybody knows about it, but if he was just out one day, it's like, why is he out? Things like that. I mean, like the Belichick, Malcolm Butler Super Bowl, like when he was sat, all those questions, all that controversy, all because they just didn't explain what was happening. Where it's like, I feel like it's the same thing in with these scratches, where it's like, just give us a reason
yeah, we
why,
can't
and I
just
feel a
be
little
like,
bit better
oh,
about it.
the horse looks off. Okay, well, if you're wrong, there has to be a penalty then, right? Because now you cost me 6,000 because that horse is going to sit there for the month, right? Because there's just or there's not enough races to go. So if you miss that race, you're done, right? So now it's 7,000. So listen, if you're the vet and you're making that decision, great. I'm all about it. But now if you're wrong and I'm right and the horse is sound, because I think the biggest issue is there are horses that just look off, but that's
Yeah.
just the way they are. And they're not off. They're totally 100% sound, but that vet behind the starting gate has never seen that horse before in their life, right? There's a kid that plays lacrosse with my kids, and when he runs, it looks like he's hurt, but he's not. He's run that way for 7 years. I've watched him run the way 7 years. He runs the same way every time. He's not hurt. It's just how he runs. So, if that vet is not familiar with the horse, well, then they're just going to say there's something wrong, but there's not. So that's where I think we have issues in terms of that. Like the people making decisions don't know the athletes, right?
Yeah.
Um, so and again, safety of the game, I get it. I 100% that's the ultimate goal, right? Um, there is inherent risk in the sport, right? Look at our jockeys. Look at Dylan Davis the other day, right? Kid's killing it all over the world, doing great, and all of a sudden he goes down and. But I just think that if you don't know the athlete, meaning the horse, it's hard to make a decision on that horse.
Yeah, I think the two keys there for me are like transparency and accountability. Like there should be give us something why, so be transparent about it, and then have some accountability in terms of like, okay, maybe you don't publicize it because okay, they're under enough pressure, the vets, but have a database where you are logging the okay, vet scratched, name, reason why, and then you're tracking, okay, next race or next workout, and then you can kind of start to give get a better understanding of okay, like are these regulatory vets, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they being like overcautious? Because I think it's like, the NBA they put out that like last 2 minute report where like here's what the refs did. Why don't we have the same thing? Like I mean, the regulatory vets in a sense of the refs at like the refs for us at in horse racing. Why don't we have something like that that's similar in terms of okay, let's help them get better at their job as well as help the people that are investing in the sport feel um you know their voice is heard too, because too often I think it's very easy to boil down horse racing. There's two groups that are, the ones that are really feeding the whole system. It's the gamblers and it's the horse owners. And oftentimes they're the last two groups that are really thought about when decisions are made at these tracks. So I think the more that could be done to really think of, and it sounds selfish because I'm part of those two groups, but at one point I worked for Essler, so I was kind of in it from that side of things, you could say. But I mean, you have to put your customers first, and those are your two customers in the game. And if you don't do that, things are gonna keep getting worse. So it's like okay, it's obviously a pain point. It's kind of like if you had a customer service day, okay, like you have a customer that's angry, okay, what can we do to help them? Understand it, to give them something more out of it, where it's like now it's just like, nope, like if you're mad about the vet scratch, you're a horrible person, you want horses to die. It's
Yeah.
like, no, that's not it. Like we're just looking to get to that happy medium.
Like they scratched White Abario, right? And then he worked the other day. Like there was obviously nothing wrong with that horse. Like he was fine. Like so that's the issue. And I know, it's happened to everybody, every owner. If you've been in this game, you've been scratched where you don't believe you should have been. And again, it's not gonna affect Mike Rapoli, right? Like, and he says it, like, I can get by, but the other owners, the John Rapps of the world can't, right? Like you start scratching horses and you start losing 6-7 grand a month, um, it becomes a problem.
The economics are hard enough. And I think it's like
Yeah.
in a negotiation, like there should be both sides should feel a little bit iffy about it. Both sides feel like, oh, I don't think I should have been scratched. And, the vet should feel okay, like that is, there's a gray area. All right, I'm gonna let that one go. Like, and they should be given the grace where they're not gonna be 100%, but they need to consider the long-term economic viability of ownership when
Yeah.
these decisions are getting made. So I think it's a very good point.
100%. Yep.
But yeah, I think anything else you wanna talk through before we rip through these
No,
rapid
hopefully we're
fire
doing
questions?
this in about a year because we have a horse on the Derby Trail or the Breeders' Cup turf. That's what we're hoping for,
That would
right? Like
not suck. That would not suck.
that would be a great one.
I
So
like it.
hopefully we're doing that. But I think we got some good ones in the pipeline. So
Yeah,
I think we should be okay.
we're getting pucks.net, and I feel like one of them we're gonna hit for us here soon.
That's it. That's it. That's what you're hoping for, right?
100%. That's what it's all about. But yeah, I'm gonna go into these rapid fire questions. That's cool with you. It's
Okay.
all
Yeah. Sure.
one word or kind of like one sentence sort of questions to close this out here. All right, favorite horse of all time.
Sweet Lou's got aces.
Good one. All right, favorite track.
Saratoga.
Easy. All right. Favorite big race day. So Belmont, Travers, Derby,
So
Preakness.
to be honest, I have not been to a lot of big race days, right? Like, but I have been to the Belmont up at Saratoga the last 2 years, and it's a pretty cool event.
It's been a time. I had so much fun this year. We got a Airbnb right near the track, and we had a good time. We like walked to what's the bar right next to the track? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. It's right behind the paddock. The bar right there.
The King's Tavern.
Yeah, I think so. And oh my gosh, it was a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah,
I was in bed at like 9:30 because we just kept the party
went
rolling.
hard.
Yeah. All right, the next two are like can be horse related, can be non-horse related, just whatever pops in your brain. When you hear the word successful, who is the first person you think of?
Let's go Todd Pletcher in horse racing.
All right, that was actually the answer from the last pod I
Yeah,
did too.
I
It's
mean, he's
interesting.
pretty. I don't know him. I've never met him. I only watch him walk by my box a lot and head to that winner's circle, and seems pretty successful.
Yeah.
Seems like knows what he's doing. Seems pretty dialed in kind of guy.
All right, last one I got is any advice to your younger self?
Just stay the course, right? Like there's going to be good days, bad days. Just stay the course. It's all going to work out.
Love that. All right, Jonathan, this was a ton of fun. Hopefully we're next time we talk, we're in the winner's circle together here.
Yes, let's do it.
This is a awesome time, and I'm sure we'll catch up again here soon. Thank you.